Alright, welcome. For the sake of this video and the censorship policies that YouTube has put in place, I will be referring to the COVID-19 VACCINE as the jab for the sake and purposes of relaying the information in this video. Now, I have an article here from the Washington Post titled, "Judge Dismisses Lawsuit Filed by Houston Hospital System Employees Who Refuse the COVID-19 jab." This is a case that's taken place in Houston, Texas at Houston Methodist. And I will go ahead and read a few excerpts from the article here. A federal judge on Saturday, which is the Saturday prior, dismissed a lawsuit filed by 117 staffers at Houston Methodist over the hospital's jab requirement for employees, a decision that could have implications in other battles over such mandates. The hospital system was among the first in the country to require all workers to be inoculated against you-know-what, which has killed about 600,000 people in the United States. More than 99% of its 26,000 strong workforce complied, but a small fraction refused. And Chief Executive Mark Boom said Tuesday that more than 170 employees have been suspended as a result. I'll repeat that. 170 people are now without real, stable employment due to refusing the jab, which is their God-given right and their civil liberty as a United States citizen. Among them was Jennifer Bridges, a nurse who became the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit over the jab requirement after months of publicly opposing it. The complaint filed last month argued that the mandate is unlawful and forces employees to be human guinea pigs as a condition for continued employment. But U.S. District Judge Lynn N. Hughes rejected that argument. In his ruling, he said that the lawsuit's claim that the jab is experimental and dangerous is false, and it is also irrelevant. The hospital system requirement does not violate state or federal law or public policy, he wrote. He goes on further to state, Methodist is trying to do their business of saving lives without giving them the you-know-what, which is what the jab is supposed to take care of, Hughes wrote. It is a choice made to keep staff, patients, and their families safer. Bridges can freely choose to accept or refuse the jab. However, if she refuses, she will simply need to work somewhere else. This is referring to a woman who was a nurse during the pandemic. A nurse that oversaw countless people for countless reasons for a number of different things, many of whom I'm sure were in the ICU unit suffering from COVID-19. And now it is her God-given right to refuse the jab, but because she is doing so, she is being ostracized, ridiculed, and deemed putting people's lives at risk for simply choosing to perhaps save her own. It says that there's no risk associated with taking this jab. A lot of people still are of the belief that the jab, no matter which one you choose to take, is safe. I'm here to tell you today, brothers and sisters, as someone who has lost two dear loved ones to the COVID-19 virus, I stand with these people who are filing the lawsuit against Houston Methodist, which is entirely unlawful and unethical, might I add, to force an individual and giving an individual an ultimatum to put a foreign substance in their body or lose their financial status and their employment status along with it. Now, I'm going to post this article, but I'm going to go on to another one. This is from News 8 in West Hartford, Connecticut. This was published not even a day ago. It says, concerns are growing over reports of heart inflammation in young people who received the jab. The CDC is now investigating the potential link and have called an emergency meeting later this week. While kids 12 and older have had about a month to get their first or second dose of the jab, what about the 6-month-old to 12-year-old group? The 6-month-old group. The jab is expected to be authorized for the younger age group by the end of the summer or early fall. But now the CDC is stepping in to take another look at the jab. The CDC has scheduled an emergency meeting for Friday to take another look at myocarditis in children. There have been 6 cases as Connecticut children's and more than a dozen statewide. Then it goes on to state that this new developed thing that happens as a result of heart inflammation is benign and it's rare. One of the doctors state they come in, the heart gets inflamed, and they go home. So the CDC is now looking at this in great detail. This is part of the system. This is part of the process. The rate is 16 cases per million, and those 16 per million are kids that are 16, 18 years old, some of them a little bit younger. Doctors still recommend getting the jab because the number of children who are getting COVID-19 ending up hospitalized with severe complications are a more dangerous problem. So they go on to give numbers. They want to give statistics here about the risk of developing heart complications being 16 in 1 million. But they also fail to provide the concrete evidence that the mortality rate for young individuals in this demographic is also severely low. Below 1%, I might add. Now, there are people that are clearly filing lawsuits, and this ordeal with Houston Methodist is the first case that has ever reached a legal court system regarding the ethical and legal nature of forcing employees to take the jab as required by their employer. And the judge firmly dismissed this case, saying that there is no foundation that this jab required for the employees to take is in any way, shape, or form renders them as guinea pigs or makes it experimental in any sort of way. But it is a widely known fact, I might add, that many of the jabs and the people that have manufactured the jab have not been approved by the FDA, that is the Food and Drug Administration. Many people, such as myself, do believe that taking the jab could pose greater risks to their overall health as opposed to not taking the jab, which could, very well might, lead to a COVID-19 infection. Now, I will say this again. I am someone who has had several family members not only infected, but have had fatalities as a result of said infection. I have been to 2 funerals as a result of what COVID-19 infection does to a particular demographic of people. But I will also say to you, brothers and sisters, today, I am also of the unpopular and minority group of people that believe that the COVID-19 jab poses greater risks to an individual's overall health, especially in my case, in an individual that has a history of a heart condition and several other medical conditions. Now, this is going to become a very controversial thing. Many people are being fed this nonsense that the jab its sole intended purpose is to save lives, and that there is no narrative being put forth in the media or by any other politician or any other official that the jab, no matter who manufactures it, poses any sort of real threat to an individual and their overall health, especially if they are a part of a specific demographic in the United States of America. I argue that doing this in this legal matter regarding Houston Methodist and the 170 people that have been suspended as a result to their opposition to receiving the jab. I argue that this is probably going to be the most hotly debated topic of our time. We are living in a day and age when people no longer have their civil liberties as put forth in the United States Constitution. We are living in a day and age when we no longer are able to choose, but we are being coerced into doing what is not of our nature in order to live, in order to proceed and to continue on as we all have been, or as we all have been trying to, given the state of the world. I've said it in the past video, the previous video that I posted. It will be a cold day in hell before I myself am coerced, especially coerced, into taking the jab. It will be a cold day in hell before I myself voluntarily take the jab. And I strongly encourage any of you that have not taken the jab and have been thinking about taking the jab to do your research extensively before just being as the rest of these sheep and doing what you're told in order to get the world to go back to normal. We all know about Governor Newsom, the governor of the state of California, who is running these spectacular lotteries. And in these lotteries are pools of people that have received the jab throughout every county of the state of California. Large sums of money that are being promised to people if they are drawn out of these pool of people, if they voluntarily go and get their first and second dose of any ordinary jab. Now, my question to you is, why is it that there is such firm opposition in taking the jab when it has been told to us, the masses, the people of this country, time and time again, that doing so will help us all return to a state of normal much quicker, to get out of this pandemic much sooner? Why are these incentives so grand and so large and so promising to people when all of us are supposed to be willing to just go and voluntarily receive the jab, knowing that it will help us all return back to normal life? I say this to you now because many people, such as the members of Houston Methodist that no longer have their jobs, are coming into their senses about what sort of risks the jab poses to their overall health, as they know that they could run into greater risks of having real serious health complications as opposed to running the risk of encountering an infection and trying to endure it the natural way. I tell this to you now because there's going to come a time, I truly believe, when the jab will no longer be optional within a large number of demographics and a large number of people that wish to do certain things. There will be restrictions. We've seen it now with people that want to travel internationally and sometimes even within the country that are not able to do so without immunization records and proof of immunization. I am simply here today to inform you all and to give you a sound mind to discern between what is just and what is right for yourself, for your friends, and your loved ones in order to sustain your overall health, in order to make the right choice in deciding whether or not to take the jab. And that's all I have for you today. For the people at YouTube watching this video, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm simply giving them the information they need to make the choice for themselves. So for my viewers, you all take care, you stay blessed, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.